I'm excited to meet you. Lovely to see you, my love.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just wanted to start with that.
You're so funny. Brittany, I could feel all of that today. I actually just texted Noelle. I can read this to you. I said, feeling a little weird about doing this reading. I've been avoiding it for some reason. Like I could not, I'm like, what is going on? Like, why don't I want to do this? And I'm normally like, "Yeah, let's do it, go." And so I'm glad that you actually started with that because I think I've been feeling your energy all day and
Yeah,
it hasn't been lovely. I'm like,
apologize.
no, you don't need to apologize. I think probably if we're going to
Well,
be really vulnerable and honest, this is a big thing that you're letting us do, one, and it's a big thing that you're letting us record it. But yeah, so I love it. So Noelle, there's my confirmation right there. I was like, I've just been feeling Brittany.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. It's been a little spazzy this morning. So
No
both
need to
myself
apologize.
and Tiffany are a little frazzled.
Yes.
A little frazzled. Yeah.
And I didn't read any of Noelle's readings. So
Oh, okay.
I have no idea. I'm coming in cold and I wanted to do that. I did do a reading with you right before with you and your vagina. It wasn't necessarily just your vagina.
Gotcha.
It was yeah. So I'm going to stop talking. Noelle, why don't you set this up? What the heck are we doing? And who is Brittany and who's Tiffany?
gotcha. Okay.
Mm.
Welcome, everybody. This is my friend Brittany. We met probably in 2011 when we started working together. He's always been sassy, fun, funny, spicy. Always, when we worked together, she was the youngest person that we worked with. And she just brought a lot of liveliness and energy. Wherever you go, that is who you are. You're a mom of two, and their ages are
5 boy and girl 8.
beautiful. Okay.
I have an
So
8-year-old. Congratulations.
Thank you. We are warriors. Yes,
Yes.
we are.
and Brittany, I don't know if I mentioned this to you about Jen, that she has a medical needs child also, different from your situation, but similar.
Yes.
And
Hugs
hosts a
to you,
podcast,
Mama.
yeah, for our special kids. And
I have the podcast called For Our Special Kids, and we definitely talk about the magic and the mess of raising a child with a disability or special needs, whatever, or your medical issues, whatever you choose to describe things as. Brittany, what else would you like us to know about you?
Let's see. I would say I gave the little blurb, which is my professional connection and spiritual connection with Noelle. I would say outside of that, I am just a person that's been through a lot of things. I have a very colorful past in a lot of different realms that have made me my own expert on life thus far and just a champion of resilience. That's the thing that I've based my education on, my career on, and moving forward in my own spiritual journey, life path. That's where I'm going to. And that's reflected, I would say probably Noelle would agree because she knows me professionally and personally, but that's really part of my life's purpose is to use the things that I've been through to help others get through their experience, their traumas, their dealings, their stressors, their journey.
I love that. Let me go ahead and read your bio
Yeah.
just while Noelle is getting things prepped. It is on the other screen, so don't think I'm being rude. I'm like, bye. Okay, I love this. Brittany, you write, I am a good friend, spiritual sister, and a former colleague of Noelle's. We worked in children's mental health together many years ago. My role at that time was to be a peer support and partner for children and families experiencing dual diagnosis mental health issues. My role was essentially to be a professional friend and mentor to clients who were experiencing things I myself had been through and mostly successfully navigated and recovered from. I used my past traumas and life experiences to help others navigate and process theirs, alongside their therapist and a psychiatrist. I'm also a mama of two and full-time caregiver, a self-proclaimed hippie hillbilly who is very spiritually connected to everything. Noelle and I have connected many times over the years on our spiritual journeys and vision of connecting humans to each other, to our world, and beyond physical realm. So sweet. I'm glad you shared that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Noelle, you have worked with Brittany before and you've done 2 vagina readings for her now.
So, do you remember what year you do remember what year it was when we first made that connection to your vagina?
I was thinking probably around,
We were no longer working together, but we had to get together with a few of our other coworkers, all of whom I had done Reiki on at times, or they knew me. And so we had this get together, and a couple of the other people, including Brittany, had been talking about their vagina, quote, like being broken. And I didn't know what to do with that. And I didn't feel like there was something I was supposed to do with that. We were just chatting. But then I don't know how everything became a bit spiritual. Oh, I don't know. But
As
anyway,
it
it
does.
did. It did. I have a guest now too. But and I all I remember is being in this place where Brittany was staying and you laying on the bed, one of our other peeps was with us, and I was like asking her to ground the energy, and I just started interacting with Brittany's vagina. I
As
hadn't,
one
yep,
does. Just
I
yes,
mean,
that's just girls
just
get
normal stuff.
together, we start
yes,
reading each other's vaginas. That's what one does.
I
we
mean,
do. And I'll add a little bit onto yours, Noelle. So I will say, when we were talking about all of the broken vaginas, it was a sombering, but also an empowering, hopeful thing in that we are all these strong women, and we like to use we're badass women. We're all these strong women. We're forces. We feel our own energy. We're getting connected. We have leaders like Noelle that are helping connect us and show us ways to be more connected. And I think you definitely led the charge, but myself and our other friend that did this with us, we're all very open anyways. Noelle had the lead, and we were all there for it. We were like, okay, we're three women. We can heal each other. We can share this energy. My two girlfriends have all this energy to pour into me, and I desperately need some help. I am in drained mode and I need a refilling energy wise. And it came about definitely as a funny thing. I do remember us, I can't remember if wine was involved or not, a glass of wine. Knowing
Or
our other
two.
friend, there might have been, but I will say we had lots of laughs. I remember it being very lighthearted, very upbeat, very positive, very growth based. And we were all just, let's see what happens. Let's see what we can charge up here. And sure enough, like from the moment that I laid down, and I will say also, this was many years ago, I wasn't as tapped in and connected as I am now,
Mhm.
100%. So I was a little bit skeptical, but because I felt safe with my girlfriends and I have all the trust and respect and admiration for Noelle and her abilities. And that was already solid at that point, but I was skeptical. And I remember laying down and following the instructions to ground. And I really just connected with everything that I could feel, from my brain to my heart into the core of my body. Later learning that these are chakra points or energy sources. But I really did. And I felt like I was locked into the bed and locked into the frame and locked into the ground and the foundation and into Mother Earth, completely rooted down. And I felt anchored by my two friends. So it became like a very, it went from laughing and okay, let's see, to being like, a force is here. We have conjured forces and energies are connecting now. And it went from casual to very spiritual.
I felt good just as you were describing it. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm getting shivers like up and down. I'm like, you guys really were very connected. You were in a safe place to be vulnerable. And if anyone's listening, if you're like, oh, let's try to do this, you totally can. But I absolutely recommend making sure that you're feeling like you're safe. And if you are going to be vulnerable and connecting each other's energies, that you set up some protections and create that. You use the word conjuring. It can be a very negative word. I don't mind it, but some people can hear that and freak out. So you are bringing in energies and you're opening energies up and you're asking them to influence you and the situation. So I know the three of us already know that, but if you're listening and this is something that's new to you, just make sure that you focus on a few of those things.
That's really important to say. And I will say, Noelle, I'll give you credit again. As we began that, we did set an intention for all of us, and we all collectively agreed and focused on that intention moving forward with the intention, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was not just to fix Brittany's broken vagina, but to form a connection between the energy lower and my higher energy, to feel the oneness and to fully be integrated. And I won't say any more about that word because it comes up later probably, but yeah, that was a big part of it.
I knew
tension.
none of this, FYI. So if anyone's listening and they're all, how does Jen fit into this? I don't. I've never met Brittany. I am only here because I like to whisper with vaginas. And so I didn't know I didn't even read your bio until right then, because when I did my reading for you, I wanted it to be a clean slate. I didn't read any of the information that Noelle sent ahead of time because I wanted to connect with you in a pure way. So it'll be really interesting when I tell you or when I read to you what came through, because I'm just like, oh, I was totally tapped in. It'll be
Well,
interesting to see what you say, but that integration of it's not just your vagina that was speaking with me. And I very clearly knew that when I got your messages.
definitely.
Okay. Where should we go from here? Do you want to talk about the first reading that you did for her, or the second one, or the
Well,
changes? I mean,
I think both. So after you had your first reading and you had this very different context for Tiffany, your vagina, and that was her name that she told me. She was the first vagina I ever spoke with. And I have a little judgment about the name Tiffany. And I remember being like, really? But that was
Of
her
all
name.
the names,
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to talk a little bit about what came out of that reading for you, you gave a beautiful context for the intention of it. What actually did change, if you can recall from that?
yes. So let me take actually one mini step backwards and give a context of the medical side of it that sort of led up to me feeling like I had a broken vagina in the first place. And of course, we're being lighthearted with terms here, but I'm a sexual assault survivor. I had a lot of trauma in my early 20s. I was then in a relationship that was abusive and toxic for many years, mostly emotional, but the sexual trauma came into play with that, as it does. And then I was also medically diagnosed with a condition called vaginismus and a pelvic floor disorder. I was telling Noelle about this. I actually had started pelvic floor physical therapy to address all the muscular systems down there. And this is all medical stuff. I'll spare you the details, but you can look it up on Google.
oh, I've
And
had it. It's incredible. Like
right.
pelvic floor. Yeah. Yeah. No one
And
else too. Okay.
I started a book series about vaginismus and how to deal with the mental components and any past traumas that can affect your tightening and tensing of muscles throughout your body. And that places like your pelvic floor are sensitive muscles, but there's a lot of muscles down there that can be strengthened like any other muscles, right? So as we know, there's a whole medical treatment side of that includes physical therapy and dilator kits and mental health work and just a lot of things for there. But what was not being tapped into was the spiritual, emotional side of things. And that took a long time to figure that out. But that's the background of that, is that I was dealing with some actual medical things. And also, I also have endometriosis and have dealt with that for many years. So there was plenty of medical context that would contribute to me saying that I have a broken vagina. And also that it was causing issues in that current relationship intimately, and then intimate trauma. So we get the picture, right? There were some things going on. So leading up to this, after that experience in this very safe space, and I am glad you brought that up, Jen, because that's such a huge thing of that, is especially for someone like me. I'm an open book and I would use my different experiences to connect with my clients in the past. But for me, there's a level of shame and guilt and humiliation and all those sort of yucky feelings when they revolve around things that are intimate violence, abuse, trauma, different things. And then also having a dysfunction or a disorder that then prevents you from having a healthy sex life or a healthy relationship with sex or owning your sexual identity. And after the reading, I will say, not only did the feeling more connected to not only my past and the medical diagnoses, which later then fizzled out, but also to the oneness of everything. So I talked about not just being like you're speaking with the energy of my vagina, but my wholeness, my whole body. It seemed like it was not just that my vagina is broken, but it turns out there are other parts of my body that are ripple effect being affected by all of this. And sorry, I'm jumping around a bit, but after the reading, specifically, I stopped any sort of dilation treatment. I stopped the pelvic floor physical therapy, which was both doing stretches, but then also having a physical therapist that would come in and manually do stretching on your legs, your thighs, on your stomach, all of those things. Not my favorite type of physical therapy, because again, it feels very vulnerable and something's really wrong with me that I have to go and get this kind of interesting type of physical therapy. Quit all of that. I stopped any forward movement of meeting with any more doctors about this, like any special OBGYN doctors. And I just focused more on the feeling that I had initially after the reading, like literally within minutes, hours, days that turned into weeks. And then it just never really went backwards again. It just kept progressively getting better since then. And I will say, keeping up with my girlfriends that were there and like doing check-ins with them helped. And it almost kept the connection alive and like the energy alive that I had been receiving from them and had received. And then also doing my own personal spiritual work, really connecting with my body and understanding just the brain body connection and how there is a difference between, say, like general stress taking a hold of your body versus a spiritual stress that is not being looked at, that's not being addressed, that's not being connected to. And through all of that, I have not had any issues again with that. I've never gone back to any specialist. I can't stress that enough. It was all the talk for many years, and now it's not a talk at all and hasn't been. And I've had 2 successful pregnancies. I told Noelle in a different session, but I feel like Tiffany is fully empowered. She's fully integrated. I feel like I am not affected by the trauma. Of course, it's still there, and there are things that will just be there. It's just a stamp in my book. But the spiritualness of it all and the connectedness of feeling like I own my body again, like I have the ownership back, I have the power back. And then even getting outside my divine feminine, my ancestral support that I do feel vividly alive and well. And I think that's part of Tiffany's energy. And also the name Tiffany, as she said, it wasn't a name that, it was just like, how do we address you, Brittany's vagina? As they're like putting their hands over my legs and my belly and like doing the Reiki energy. And it just came. And once it came out and Noelle said it, we were like, okay, she's Tiffany. That's Tiffany. That's Tiffany's energy. So
I'll be the first one to tell you I don't get names. So I did not get Tiffany, but I will call her Tiffany from here on out.
now it's a long-standing joke. We talk about it at parties,
God,
checking on
that's
Tiffany.
funny. Oh my gosh. So do you remember 1 or 2 actual messages that Noelle gave you or Tiffany gave you that stuck with you?
From the first reading?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it being, again, the safe space. My girlfriends knew that I had been through some things. They didn't know details of things at that point, but they knew that I'd been through some rough stuff, including traumas like that. And so I remember one of the first things that she led with was just like clearing the space that we were in, the physical space, and welcoming in positive supports from those around us that are not physically present. And we all were open to that. Pardon me. And I remember her saying to me, and just as a statement to the energy that is there, is that this was a safe place, that Brittany was here for healing, that they were giving off their healing energy to me, and that I was open to receiving it, that Brittany was going to leave here better than when she came in here. And all of those things really got it stirring for me. And I'm a visual person and I talk with my hands a lot, as you can see, but as I'm saying that and remembering it, I felt in my chest like a small swirling, like a little mini hurricane out, but in a good way, just being stirred up. It's being activated. And just knowing that I'm with 2 people that love and care about me and are here to help me heal. They want to see what's best for me. And you can't emphasize that enough, because if you're with a therapist, if you're with your best friend, you're with your mom, you're with whoever you think is, you have to really feel safe and able to be vulnerable, because if you can't, or there's any little sort of hiccup, I don't believe that it would work or that it would have been as successful as it was.
I have a question for you. So you stopped doing pretty important physical therapy that would have been indicated, I assume, by those diagnoses that you talked about. I'm not a medical professional, but based on what you said, so what And you were saying this is about bringing the spiritual and the energetic in for your awareness. Did you get a message from Tiffany? Hey, we're going to be fine. You don't need to do those things? Because that's a drastic change to not continue.
And before you answer that, we're gonna definitely put a little caveat. I'm gonna say we're not doctors. We don't play one on TV. We don't any of that. And we are not recommending going cold turkey on any
Anything,
therapies.
making any
Treatments.
changes.
Okay.
Jen added a disclaimer.
I
That's
know
a big
I'm
deal.
never the disclaimer girl. I'm always like, now I'll just stop. Okay. But I'm like, oh God. I'm like, you stopped
Yeah.
everything. First of all, Brittany, that's amazing. It is amazing that you got, I'm assuming what Noelle's leading you into. We're assuming that Tiffany said to you, we're good now. You don't need to keep going, or you got that feeling, you got something.
Yeah.
So yeah, expand upon that with the caveat that we're not
Please.
recommending it.
At all. Yeah.
Yes. So Tiffany, at some point in the reading, I believe it was soon after the safety sort of vulnerability point, that I fully opened up and throughout my body, not just there, but throughout my body, I had palms up. I felt a swirling of energy around my lady parts and into my lower abdomen. The swirling that I felt in my chest, I felt down there. I tie energy to colors. So I remember feeling a very golden, yellowy, follow me for visuals, but if you could see liquid gold that's sort of shimmery and shiny and bright and just beautiful, something you just are in awe of. And that's what I felt he was encompassed by. And I felt that I was receiving that literally from the fingertips of the ladies next to me. And I had my eyes closed. This is what is spiritually going on in my body that I'm experiencing. It's not like I'm hearing a voice from her. And let me also clear, when I say like her or she or Tiffany, it's not that I feel there's an extra woman that's in my vagina. It's the energy that my divine feminine, my most womanly energy is projecting out because she's the divine feminine of my essence. She is a she. And sometimes we're together and sometimes we're separate. We're very much together these days, but I just want to clear that up. Somebody asked me that question years ago and I had to explain, no, I don't think there's a separate woman down.
You're right. We take it for granted like we know what this is. Your vagina came in as a we a couple of times and then she shifted to a she. It was very interesting. I was like,
I can get that though. I can totally get that one though.
okay.
So yeah, so the liquid gold is coming in and I'm just hearing from her, you are safe. You are healing. You have the ability to heal. That stuck out a lot for me because there were times where I would have residual things from my trauma, low self-worth, low self-esteem, especially with intimate issues, and just feeling, am I ever going to be past this? Am I ever going to be fixed? Am I ever going to feel empowered by this? Like that sounded like such a concept back then. But that was the message that I got from her, was that you are going to use this as a tool. This is your empowerment. This is the churning of a change. This is a turning point. And I know I've used that before in describing this, but that was a turning point for me. And there's absolutely no denying. And I'll also say I had, again, this is not anything to say about medical, because of the vagina issues that I was having. I even went and had an invasive surgery that was recommended for endometriosis treatment and had the laparoscopy procedure and ended up being injured during that procedure to where I couldn't have kids naturally after that. And just a lot of things were really stacked up. So I can't even stress that enough. She was broken. And during that moment when I'm communicating with her and actually listening, because I'll also say there were times where I felt like maybe I could connect or that there was like something that I was missing with my own body. And I just was like, whatever, just go to the doctor about it, have them deal with it. And then don't think about it when you're not in the doctor's office. And that's not the right way. You need to listen to your body all the time. And getting that message that you are capable, you have the ability to heal, you can heal yourself. You still need support. There's still things there that need to be addressed that you can't deny, but the ability to heal is there. And knowing that it was going to be a tool for me and that it wasn't going to continue to bury me, or how it wasn't going to continue to be a huge deficit in my life that I felt like I was constantly battling. It felt like it was changing into something, just like many other instances in my life. It was building me up to be a stronger version of this. And I've talked a lot about resiliency and things in my life with many other things besides this particular type of like trauma and thing. And I really do believe that there is a spiritual core part of building resilience or tapping into resilience, hands down. And that's what is effective for me. I have to have the internal insight. I'm very insight driven. I need to have reasons why. I need to connect with something really deep that feels like it's growth based for me, like I can reach for it. And so getting that was all the confirmation that I needed. I felt literally like muscles were releasing in that moment. And I physically felt change. I spiritually felt change. I emotionally felt change. And then that was then reflected in all of the medical changes that happened after that. And I will stress too, it's not like I just cut off all of my doctors, but I took the initiative at home for the treatments that I were doing and starting to, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it and see what happens. And I'm very much
Sounds
a like
like it gave
trial and
you-
error.
Yeah, it sounded like it gave you the ability to accept.
Yes,
And once we accept certain things, I think it's easier to let go of them.
absolutely.
Okay, this happened, and this is
Yeah.
part of who I am. This isn't a hole in me anymore. This is a puzzle piece for me
Yeah.
that just makes my story. Yeah, go ahead, Noel.
I also want to add that when Brittany was just saying she told me this, she told me that, you got those messages yourself from Tiffany. I was not the deliverer of those messages. I was bringing in
Yep.
energy. And
So
I think
that's-
that's really important.
That's what I was going to clear up because
Definitely.
what the two of us have done. So Noelle and I connected energetically with your Tiffany. Long distance. I was not putting hands on you. I was not doing Reiki. There was not an intention circle. I simply went into meditation, opened up my chakras, asked for healing and support and guidance from my team to connect with your team. And boom, I got messages for you. So I actually got messages for you from the famous Tiffany. And now, Noelle, by the way, I'm holding heart crystals. It's so funny when you were doing all, I had already grabbed my green and pinks and I was like, oh, and you're like, this hurricane in my heart. And I'm like, so I apologize. You can hear them like twinkling. But so I think that's what we want to be really clear about is what we did or what we're supposed to be talking about today. And hopefully we can transition, I think, because you gave us a great story and a great history. Truthfully, it sounds miraculous.